is good, guys? How's everyone doing? If you guys can hear me loud and clear on the stream, just drop a one in the chat for me or feel free to type in. Just want to make sure we're all good before we get going. Let me know if you guys can hear me and see my screen. Everything looks good on my end as far as like I'm watching it on my phone, but just want to make sure everything is good for your guys' end as well. Cool. We're gonna go ahead and run it up. If you guys have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask as we go along on the stream. But welcome to today's stream. It's been an interesting week, even today. Crazy fall on the indices before a short little rally. So we'll go over all that. Uh, if you're new here, welcome to Midnight Bags stream. We'll be looking for some live trades as well as just general analysis. And then if you guys have any questions or any markups or any pairs you want me to take a look at, feel free to go ahead and drop in the chat and I'll definitely take a look. First things first, we always do is we take a look at our economic calendar, see what we got for the week going on. Let's see. I know I saw a announcement that there will be no NFP for this Friday. I know usually the first Friday of the week we're looking for NFP, but I did see an announcement that they are not going to release that data. But that doesn't mean we're still not going to get volatility. Looks like we got plenty of London news on Thursday morning. But even today, even though we didn't have any like crazy news, we still had some decent volatility. So we'll go over that for sure. Let's see, what do we got the following week? CPI next week. So it'll be a good prep next week, Tuesday night as well for Wednesday CPI. But let's go ahead and run it up, guys. Gold's been on a rampage, as we know. I did attend some shorts inside of here, was able to catch a little bit before price started to retrace back up. We did leave another gap. Cool thing is, if you guys go back and just kind of back test, you'll see how gold, when the big sell-off happened, we ended up filling the gaps from previous times. We almost filled the gap back at 43.50, which I can definitely still see happening. I know we gapped at 46.93 roughly. Me personally, I'm not really interested in selling gold currently. It's just crazy volatile, and it's something that I'm personally even reducing my risk on just because of how quickly and price is moving. Like one candle can be 100 pips. It's pretty intense. So those that are trading gold, and if it's your first time in the markets trading, if you're fairly brand new, gold does not move like this. This volatility is something I'm also experiencing for the first time, even though I've been trading for 3 years. We don't get like these 1,000 pip moves on a daily basis. So just be aware and understand that it is okay to downsize your risk for those that are trading gold and silver, especially silver. Silver, depending on if you're trading futures or even CFDs, your risk on that can be pretty wide, so you have to be very careful with that. As far as zones for gold, did want to bring up something interesting that gold did. If you guys see the open that happened today at 3 p.m. East PST, gold dropped right into a trap candle here and then took off. So this was something that I ended up catching later on. I did personally attempt buys inside of here, got hit out break even before it started running, unfortunately. Was at work, so this hit me out, but the analysis was right. So that's my biggest thing is like even though I got hit out, the way I played it was correct, at least in terms of marking it up and executing. As of right now, where we're looking at, I don't have a very obvious area to continue buys, to be honest. I know we love to trade gold on here, but I kind of just want to let the market breathe. It is inside of this 2 hour zone. I'm not going to force any sells just because of how volatile it is. I'd rather wait for a decent pullback. I do see us buying up back up into about 5,400. We'll love to see that. I do want to see if we can come back to like 5,500. But where price is at right now, we've also generated liquidity as well. So personally, I'm sitting on my hands for gold, trying to see if there's a higher time frame zone. If we get a pullback, I will consider inside of this trap candle here to see if we can get something inside of here, which honestly can happen overnight with how fast gold has been moving. If you guys have a different zone, feel free to drop it in. Hey D, how's it going? But this is an area I'm gonna consider looking. I'm really not gonna force any sort of sells on this yet, unless it's super obvious and my risk is tight. I'm gonna be patient with this. So that's what I have for gold. I want to see price come back into 48.40, 48.25, around in that range. Um, uh, there is this potential candle here to attempt as well, um, uh, in case we don't get the deeper pullback. So I will keep an eye on this as well. We'll just have to see what price gives us. But if we do start breaking above, I would look to if you can find some buys, definitely look to hold it to like 5,320, 5,360, even all the way up to 5,400. So these are two zones I'm going to definitely keep an eye on. If you guys have something different, feel free. I'm still a student to the game. This is not me giving any financial advice on this call. It's just learning as I'm going and sharing my experiences with you guys. So if you guys have something different, feel free to drop it in. Clean this up here. And I definitely recommend you guys to study the drop that happened with silver and gold. See how you could have played it. I know we talk a lot about volume, and I think silver gives a decent opportunity to play. Yeah, the risk is kind of big, um, uh, but you could have waited for another engulfing candle, which you did get right here, if you didn't want to play anywhere inside of this. But this was your first sign that, okay, selling pressure is coming in. Wait for the pullback. Start seeing weakness. I'm sure if we go on to smaller time frames, we can catch something inside of here. Let's see, let's see. I would say, yeah, structure's breaking down here, waiting for the pullback here. You can get a tighter R&R if you did not want to attempt anything up in here. Trying to see if we have any of our signature trap candles inside of here to get into. Not really, just purely based off the structure. But where silver's at currently, it's definitely moving a little bit slower than gold for sure. We did leave behind equal lows on silver, so this will be a target for the future for sure. I want to see if silver can give us one more chance to get in. See if we can get a drop back inside of this zone right here to continue higher. Everything else is pretty efficient up to this point, so I want to see if we can get one more pullback and then continue further up. There we go. And I love that we have our signature trap candle right inside of here, 2 hour trap candle. Always look for the same style of entry, so this looks solid on my end. I'm definitely going to keep an eye where gold is at in case one pair is leading versus the other. When I say that, what I mean is if gold is dropping more significantly quicker than silver, then I'll look to take silver because it's a lagging pair. Because then I can use the evidence from gold. If gold just completely blows past the zone and silver's not showing signs, then I'll hesitate on executing. All my trades are market execution for anyone that is new here. So I wait for price action and candles to form before I just execute. I found that is what works for me in regards to my data versus doing limits. So I like this area on silver personally, and then we continue higher. I'm not going to look to force any shorts where we're at because we don't have to pull back, but this makes sense and we could just continue going up further. Continue with the indices. Cool, cool. I was kind of studying that. I don't know if anyone caught the Nasdaq dump today. Um, uh, there was a little bit of a divergence because US 30 popped off initially, and we'll go back and study this. It just was like a liquidity grab, but Nasdaq just came straight down. And honestly, the way I would have played this, I was at work, so I did not attempt any of this. I played later on when I got a chance, like down in here. But there's a lot of opportunities for simple break and retest. Like if we see prices and momentum, and I've always said this, if you miss the initial move, just wait for the pullbacks. Like we have clear evidence to the left that price has a higher chance of going down and filling the imbalance, which it did perfectly. So make trading simple. Look where prices previously reacted. We closed below, we retested, and it's just a good learning experience because I was back testing this earlier. Is we get the pullback, stop below the previous high. I know most people have their 1 to 2, 1 to 3s. Even if you just want 1 to 3, you hit it in like 2 candles. If you're gonna go according to the what price is giving you, you have the imbalance, you get a nice 1 to 5. Yeah, I went even further. Cool. There's other ways to read this. You have liquidity resting right here, equal lows. That's just another way to read it. But if you're just going for your basic standard 1 to 3 years for it give it to you and it gave more. So keep it simple. Um, it even did it again right here. If you guys see how prices previously reacted multiple times, we broke below, we retested, short again into these equal lows. So understanding when price is momentum, you have a higher chance of catching the pullback. And we study volume here. You guys see that volume is not increasing as we're going up. So sellers are still in control. We get the retest, short down into our obvious liquidity area, which it gives more, cool. But even if you just took this whole pullback, stop above this previous high, you're still hitting a 1 to 8 with a pretty tight stop. Like even if you just took it once this candle closed below, stop here, you're hitting a 1 to 5, basically 1 to 6 at this point. So just something to definitely study. Um, as far as where Nasdaq is right now, I am keeping an eye on this 15-minute zone. See if we can get a little bit of pullback inside of here and then continue higher up to fill the imbalance. I want to see all the previous Asian session buyers get swept out and then us continue up. So this is something I'm going to be keeping a eye on for sure. Just make sure I check the chat. Cool. So I want to see us pull back and then continue out, fill the imbalance. Um, More or less have equal highs right here. I'm gonna check, make sure I check the futures chart later on. That is a considerable target. Um, uh, but with how volatile the market is lately, don't be greedy. Take your obvious um, uh, wins or obvious exits and what your rules say versus trying to grab more, especially in these crazy times. Like for me personally, is if I find buys, I'll be aggressive on trailing my stop as we continue filling this imbalance and then scaling out of positions as well. So that's something I've been trying to implement in my futures trading for sure. So that's Nasdaq. I want to see us get a little bit pullback. Even if we don't get this deep, and then volume shows me that buyers are stepping in. Uh, like say we even if we only hold up inside of here, I'm gonna keep an eye on this whole zone right here, and then see how price is reacting, and then us buy up. This trap candle, I'm not going to necessarily play this. I don't like how there is no wick on this trap candle. This candle next to the trap candle, sorry. This is a potential exit because we can use our trap candles as entries and exits. So I will keep an eye on that for sure. But I want to see a pullback and then us catch some buys. Now US 30, a little bit harder to play for sure versus NASDAQ. Liquidity grab, you have some divergence. But if we use the same concept that we just spoke about when it comes to gold and silver, when I said if one pair is leading, I'll take the lagger. This works out in terms of US 30 and NASDAQ is if I'm seeing NASDAQ just straight dump down, I'm gonna start looking for something inside of here. Probably gonna have a wider stop. Personally, I would not take over 100 point stop on US 30. That's just the way I trade. But then I would start looking for something that's a little bit more obvious, and that's our simple break and retest. If we see prices of momentum, what happens here? Price is rejecting, rejecting. We close below, retest, tighter stop, fill the imbalance, which we clearly did right here, and then price reacts back up. So personally, NASDAQ was a better play. If you're only a US 30 trader, you could have played it that way. A little bit harder, wider risk, but same idea. So speaking of a little bit of divergence, US 30 clearly is more bullish versus NASDAQ. NASDAQ does have a much more imbalance to fill, which is why I'll be looking for buys for sure tomorrow. We'll see how volume prints. I do see us making another set of highs. We are kind of just ranging. This is a pretty wide range, still plenty of money inside of this to capitalize on. But I want to see if we can break out from this. If we do clear these highs, I'll look for NASDAQ as well to be the lagger in this case, since US 30 is so much further up. If you guys have a different zone, feel free. I'm gonna keep an eye on this 5 minute area if I can capitalize something inside of here. US 30 is pretty far away from it, so to be honest, NASDAQ is my more favorable setup for tomorrow going into New York session. US 30 I'm gonna be a bit more patient on for sure. Let's see if SPX has anything better for us. Oh, we finally took out the liquidity there. Cool. This is trying to buy up, but volume isn't really showing. How did we close on a daily? Engulfing candle. So maybe a slight push up to continue selling potentially based off what volume is showing us right now. See, personally, I like my trap count entries, and I know a lot of you guys take these entries. This is becomes a less probable area for me to attempt because of the imbalance here. There's been so many times where I back tested my own trades and then looking back throughout the pairs I trade that the middle trap candle doesn't always get respected. It's a lower probability given the fact that we have inefficiency up here, which we clearly do. Personally, would love to see if we can get a pullback to fill the imbalance and then eventually short down because volume isn't really printing for the buys. Like this candle tried, volume's decreasing as we're going up. Let's double check volume on NASDAQ, same thing. So ideally we just get a small pump up and then short down. We'll have to see what let's see what US 30 is doing volume wise. It's trying. We're going up, but we're decreasing on the way. This makes me be a bit more cautious for sure. But we got our zones. We'll reevaluate once like right before New York session comes in. Take a look at US oil here. Um, uh, this idea I'm gonna discard for now. This was painful. It didn't come fully back for us, but we were on the right path, so it's okay. Live and learn. Trap candle doesn't always have to get played into. Who knows? Maybe in the future. I'll still leave the alert there, but for now, this zone is discarded. Oh, this was a beautiful play down into this trap candle. Ideally, I want to see if we can get another leg higher on oil to take out this high over here. Let's see here. Another example, trap candle entry off of this 2 hour. Pop right down into it, and then price started to go up. Okay, so we did make equal lows here. I want to see if we can clear those lows and come into this candle right here and then continue further up. Seeing something like this and then continue up. If we clear the highs and then just go further up to fill this imbalance over here, then I'll discard the area. So ideally we get the pullback inside of here to continue further up. Got the alert set, cool. Continue moving on. Let's take a look where dollar's at. See if dollar can hold up inside of this zone and continue higher up. So seeing dollar come back a little bit, meaning gold go higher, makes sense. We'll see if it can stick around this area. If not, we potentially go lower. And if there's any specific pairs, how would you play off of that next candle open? For what pair, D? For oil? But in general, ideally we get engulfing candle and engulfing volume. Uh, that is like the more confluence for sure. But we don't always get the engulfing. Sometimes we get candlestick pattern showing us um, that for off the oil off the 2 hour. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so ideally we come tap inside of here, and then on the smaller time frames, I start seeing like maybe 5, 15 minute engulfing candle, engulfing volume. Um, uh, like this is a good example. Engulfing candle, engulfing volume. Price drops back in. Actually, let's study this because this could give a better example of how we can play inside here. Because similar thing like 2 hour candle. Let's do this. We're gonna study this whole area here. This was the candle. Give me 1 second. So even off of this 30 minute, we can see this candle right here tried a lot of effort to come down, but then it leaves a long wick. Like buyer is showing the sellers are not in control. And look how the volume closed. If this was really trying to come back down, wouldn't volume continue being higher? Like if we break this down a smaller time frame, it keeps trying, leaving long wicks. Sellers are losing their momentum. It puts effort to come down, but do you see how volume just keeps decreasing? And then we start seeing volume trend up. And then this candle right here specifically is like we see this a lot of volumes coming in. We could have just played the next one. You could have been earlier, but for more confirmation, you could have just started playing inside of here. Does that make sense? So I would literally look for that same exact thing that I just showed once we get into The 2 hour zone that I have on oil at this area right here. Let me know if I need to clarify anything. But you can see like sellers are putting a lot of effort, but this is just to rebalance this big candle right here. Like this is just rebalancing price action. Say you wanted to play like the 50% of this, a little bit of drawdown, decent amount for sure. But then your upside is technically all the way up here, but it still gives you like a quick, almost a 1 to 2. So who knows? This could hold, but ideally we come back down. But I hope that makes sense. That's how my brain processes it. Like if you guys are looking for the pullbacks, look for decreasing volume to give you signs of continuation. Gold, that's a really good example. Let's see. We'll literally look at this Asian session. Obviously, gold's bullish. Pretty everyone knows this at this point. But if you're trying to find continuations, okay, this starts coming down. People are thinking we're getting closer and closer into like that Asian session, which is more up here, but I'll use that example too in a second. As price comes down, volume is decreasing. This is just to rebalance price action to continue further up. Same exact thing right here. If we were really selling, wouldn't selling volume increase as we're going down? Even throughout like the main like 6 p.m. that I look for PST time, we didn't increase in volume here for sales. This was a bit annoying to play into. I did attempt, I'm not gonna lie. Um, uh, Took a small loss here, which is okay. Um, uh, just to see how things will look, because like we did get this engulfing candle, but didn't hold up. And then as I was like going back and studying this, I mean, the candles try it, but the effort it doesn't increase. Just the rebounds in price action. But definitely go back and study that because I know a lot of you guys use volume. Like understand when price is pulling back and you're looking for that re-entry, volume will give you that confirmation. Like, okay, is this a shift in terms of going from buyers to sellers in control, or is it just sellers coming back to rebalance price action to continue the next leg, um, regardless of your buying or selling? And you just have to train your eyes. The only way you get better at it is training your eyes. Like I'm not perfect at it yet. Um, uh, it's just a work in progress always. I was really hoping we were gonna get this trap candle inside of here, but it did not pull back. So this was a little annoying, but it's okay. We'll move on. I'm gonna shift through these pairs as quick as I can. Peso is in its like big zone that we're looking for. Still valid. Just really depends on how the dollar is doing. If you're waiting for a little bit more confirmation, just what you can wait for structure to shift up and more volume to come in. Sellers are trying to gain control, but hopefully this low pulls like this engulfing candle right here. Yeah, steady. Yeah, once price gets into that trap candle, study how volume breaks down. Like any trap candle entries you've taken, go back and study. Just literally look at how volume was building out in there, and then if you notice that pattern, you're good to go. So peso idea is here, still valid. If we can hold, get us a little bit of a rally. UJ isn't quite there yet. I still think we get one more leg up. Reason being is looks like we did form equal highs here. So I want to see if we can clear these highs and then let's get potential shorts inside of here. So I'm keeping an eye on this. Alert is still there. This is one we've been waiting for a while, so I'm just gonna let it do its thing. USD Swiss. Yeah, this thing, there's really not much for us on this. This hasn't shifted really at all. No indication to attempt anything on this yet, personally. This candle is, well, this volume candle is nice, but just be patient with this. No reason to force anything. I will keep an eye on this. If we can get a small rally from here, it's a tight risk. Like my risk would be like at the low of this candle. Even then, I know with the Swiss pairs, the risk isn't like that much, like 40 pips right there. This is a potential thought. Just wait for price action. USD CAD. Let's see. Let's see. Nothing really on this. It's gonna sit on my hands for USD CAD for now, personally. Yeah, just gonna stay out of this for now. Don't really like what I'm seeing. We'll go to the London pairs first. GJ. Unfortunately, never came back into this zone we're looking for. It did take out the liquidity targets. It just never came fully back down. So we're gonna discard that zone for now. I'll say at this point, this thing's probably just gonna break out and go fill all the way up to 220. Let's see if there is any potential pullbacks on this. See, I'm not gonna take this candle because like this trap candle for me personally because of the liquidity right here. Low probability. Um, Honestly, at this point, the safest, most probable trade for me personally would be you can wait for price to break above, retest, continue higher. Why? Because obviously it's going with the trend. We have clear reason to continue. Just look at this on the daily, it's easier. Up because we have all this inefficiency. Personally, yeah, if we get a pullback, even better. But at this point, I don't have a super obvious area that fits my trading plan. So I'd rather just wait for something like this where we can catch the more probable entry. Because at this point, it's pretty close to it. How far are we? Like 140 pips is not much for GJ. It's definitely one of the more faster moving pairs. This is a good example of how like this daily candle comes back into the trap candle, rejects pretty well. So something worth studying. And then seeing how volume is just continuing to build up. Trend is in the direction. Box just check off. And those that are new, I use my smaller time frame trap candles to catch like my reentries. Larger time frames are definitely more reliable for sure. As always, do what works best for you. I don't like this area because GU has equal lows too. Might be sitting on my hands for GU. Yeah. I just, yes, this is a possible entry, but for me, it's just you have equal lows right here, equal lows right here. And trading's a game of probabilities combined with proper risk management. Your setup doesn't always have to work. That's where your risk management comes in. So I'm okay with that area playing out, and I miss it, um, just based off of my data personally. And just an example of a loss that could have been avoided. We had our entry here. I'm pretty sure this was a had to be a trap. Was it just based off of structure? Let's see. I think it was just based off of structure, yeah. The reason I said it could be avoided, and this is just being full transparency, yeah, liquidity right here. And that's why I try to avoid taking the trap candles that have liquidity right next to it. Could have been avoided. Um, all part of the learning process. This thing is on a free fall. Where is it going? Let's see. Yeah, honestly, I don't think I'm gonna touch GBP odd. This does not look super clean to me. If anything, a potential re-entry to continue shorting an area that can be considered. A little bit tighter risk because we have already fallen a decent amount, but I can see this low getting taken out here. We've got equal lows again. So target here to short down into there. See how price breaks up. GP CAD. So we took out the liquidity up here. Now I just want to see this break down and take out all this liquidity down here. No entry still on this personally, because it's just chopping sideways for has since Friday. So like I would just be patient on this. Let it give more signs before we actually short. It is respecting this candle inside of here. So if we continue getting structure to stay below here, yeah, definitely could look for some more shorts down. GP Swiss. Now anything with the Swiss against it, I'm gonna really not give it much thought, to be honest. Yeah, staying out of this for now. GP NZD, let's take a look here. If there's any specific pairs you guys want me to prioritize, feel free to let me know. All this liquidity. No shorts on anything with the GBPs. Would be nice if we can get a pullback inside of here before we take out the liquidity. So seeing something like this and then take out the trendline liquidity. Liquidity exit makes sense. I wouldn't push it for more. This is like your obvious probable exit. So either partial or take full off at that point. Let's see how it reacts. We do have some liquidity up here, so just be cautious of that. But from a structure point of view, we'll pull back and continue down. Oh, gold rejected the same zone again. I was just looking on my feed on my other screen. I'm not like you can potentially consider shorts. I'm personally not gonna force it. I want to look for shorts, but I know it's just not probable right now. I'd rather wait for London Open at this point. Potential weekly area, but this leads me not to take it. Yeah, again, shorts. Let's see if we can find something with this. The Euro odd is a great example of simple break and retest with motive to continue price action down, which clearly we have pockets of liquidity, we have inefficient price action. I did just that. So do we have anything inside of here that we can potentially capitalize on? And anything, just to clarify also, anything with Euro and GBP, as we get closer to that crazy amount of news for Thursday, reevaluate where price action is at, just in case it just wants to say, um, uh, screw you to our zones, which it definitely can. Um, uh, so just reevaluate. Just same thing I was talking about with New York session. Even though we have our zones, always reevaluate before the session open. Because you never know what can happen over London. Like we go to sleep, some crazy price action could happen, and then we wake up for tomorrow, and then our analysis may not make sense anymore. So we have to adapt. Um, and that's all part of the game, to be honest, is adapting. So be cautious of that, especially with all these red folders. But I do like this potential zone. We'll see if we can get the reaction. The exit makes sense. This one did play out, gave a decent amount of moves. Even the short gave you a nice little pullback. Let that rest for now. Yeah, I really like shorting Euro and GBP. Doesn't matter where we get that pullback. That's the only thing on some of these pairs. EuroCAD, I want to see shorts. I just don't have an obvious area to give you guys for pullbacks to get in to continue shorting, but I would like to see this thing fall down. So this area ended up not working out, even though it fit our liquidity sweep, pull up. Um, looks like the reason it didn't work out because you had more inbounds to fill, which is completely okay. Oh, this is at all-time lows. Yeah, we are not touching Euro Chef at all. Let it be. Don't even bother with this pair. Euro GBP. If I go too fast, guys, let me know because there's a lot of pairs, so I'm trying to shift through and see if anything catches my eye. We've got a couple of zones already, so we'll see what happens. In general, I'm honestly in favor of shorting Euro and GBP. Nice little liquidity pocket here. If we can pull back inside of this candle here for Euro GBP and then short down. So that's one potential zone, and then second potential zone if it wants to rebalance. But from a structure point of view, it makes sense for us to touch up here, come up here, and then continue shorting down. So let that be for now. Got alert set. Euro yen. This might be worth keeping an eye on, depending on how the rest of the yen pairs are doing. This trap candle is definitely a higher risk, which is why less probable for sure. And that's why I was saying keep an eye on what the rest of the yen pairs are doing. Based off how it's looking, if you want to attempt, you go, I would recommend less risk, but personally, by itself it looked cool, but looking at the rest of this in context, my money's not worth risking on that. We're here to make quality decisions. not quantity. Yeah, I'm okay with sitting out. Plus, we've got equal highs right here. Personally, yeah, my now that makes my setup invalid and not work for me to take. So let's see if we have any chances of pullbacks. If we can get a pullback inside of here with the news, we'll see how price reacts. Let's see. Move through this a little bit quicker. If we can, yeah, I like more shorts. So if we can pull back inside of here, come fill this imbalance right to left. If it fails beforehand and doesn't pull back, then we'll just be cautious. We did make equal lows right here as well, as you can see. Um, so this could just break through. If it just breaks through, then I would discard that zone. That's how I would play it. Euro USD. We've got this nice daily zone here, which can be a target for sure. I do like continue shorts. I would just let price dictate like where what it does with the news on Thursday at this point because this thing's just been kind of slowly chopping up. I'm gonna sit on my hands for Euro USD. And if there's anything you guys have questions on, especially like psychology related, because I love talking about that stuff, because it's a work in progress, like constantly. I don't mind covering that as well. Let's see, nothing on OddCat to be honest. Hot Swiss zone did end up holding up, broke through a little bit, but still respected overall. I don't like the shorts inside of this. I know some will consider it, just we've got equal highs here, so not 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 for me. JPY, is this at all-time highs? It is. Yeah, there's just no point in touching this. It's at all-time highs. Just let it be by itself at this point. Hot NZD. No, we're gonna clear these highs. Stay out of that. Hot USD. I'm curious to see if we hold up inside of here. Let's see. Something worth I'm gonna keep an eye on. We'll see how price looks. How's volume looking? Nah, it's comes a little less probable. Looking at everything, volume is not really giving me indication to attempt this. We didn't really increase, we just rebalanced price action to continue back up. Yeah, I'm cool with staying out of that. Not to worry about the cats. NZD, let's see if we have anything with these. Still want to see this higher. Take out all these wicks up here. no entry on this. It's just slowly grinding up, not worth being in all this chop. Even right now, I'm looking at gold on this screen. It's just, yeah, it's moving like 50, 100 pips, but it's more like chop. No, I'm not gonna look for this. It's just, this thing's been on a rampage. This did do in terms of what we're talking about. It did give that little break and retest. So we're talking about price close above. It did right here. Let's continue up. Let's see. D said, what your psychology like when it comes to your risk, especially because I know you said, yeah. A good question. I'm definitely more risk adverse than the average person for sure. Which has worked out in my favor, and it also has not worked out in my favor. Um, and I can give scenarios in both examples real quick. So in terms of not working out in my favor, maybe it's a being in a position where I'm like super stressed out with life stuff. Oh, one second, guys. I just realized my laptop is almost dying. I do not have it plugged in. Bear with me for a second. I thought I did. I'm so glad that warning thing came up. All right, cool, perfect. Sorry about that, guys. In terms of, yeah, not working out for me, um, when I was like super stressed out with life and stuff, and I'll just take my normal setups, but not be fully there in terms of mentally focused, and that risk and ended up going against me. And times where it has worked out for me is where I'm fully locked in. Everything's going good overall. I'm in a clear headspace, and I'm seeing things from a more technical, objective point of view where I'm scaling in my positions. Sometimes my risk ends up being the same, like as I'm scaling in, because I'm my next couple of entries. Say I'm risking like a 1/4% initially, but then I add more to it because I see it's more of a quality setup. But then I still try to trail my stop loss, so that ends up being the same type of risk. That is one approach I take. Other is if it's a very quality setup that I know I tend to have a greater advantage on, I will pile on size. But I also accept that if it does go against me, I need to be ready to cut my losers short. And that one is still a work in progress, being full transparent. Um, uh, but understanding that, hey, market is showing me something that is not what I'm looking for, so I need to adapt and get out of the trade. Uh, and if you know you're in a day, for example, like say you wake up tomorrow and you're like, man, I didn't get that much sleep. I have life stuff going on, but your setup is there. Maybe it's okay to risk a little bit less. Or like you have maybe you're having some doubts on your setup. It's okay to size down a bit. You just have to figure out what works for you. But and then the only way you're gonna do that is you go back and look at the data. You could be like, hey, I sized down and the trade worked out, but if I had just kept my normal risk and my data shows me that this setup tends to work out for me more than another entry model, I should just keep my risk the same instead of sizing down. So there's two sides of it. So you have to like at the end of it, you have to go back and reflect. Um, that's the thing. Like no matter what you do in the moment, none of that will equate to getting you to the next level if you don't go back and reflect on it. That's the biggest thing. Is you can make all the adjustments as you're going, but if you don't go back and review those adjustments, in regards to risk or setups, you won't be able to take that next step forward. And that's honestly, I think, a work in progress all the time, um, because we have to adapt to market uh, changes, seasonalities. Maybe an example of like seasonality wise is like gold, perfect example. Like we've just been going up, especially with everything going on. I know a lot of people as we were going up here were just over leveraging like crazy. They were just piling on the buys until they probably all got wrecked here. Those people may have been okay with more risk because seasonality made sense. Made sense to go with the trend and stuff. But does that make sense? How you you can make all these changes, but at the end of the day, you just have to review like what is working out for you or not. Maybe you're not meant to reduce your risk when your psychology is off. You just have to trust your system. At the end of the day, we have to trust our system. Um, but the only way we trust our system is by reviewing the evidence that we look back on. If you need me to clarify anything, feel free. But I think that's it pairwise. I know Mr. Elon, he also just became something. Hit like another milestone, but Tesla's been dropping. I still see Tesla coming down even more. Would be awesome seeing Tesla at 380. Yeah, yeah. Backtest ourselves at the end of the day. It's like we can. It becomes easier to backtest technicals as we go along. Like you guys will see me in hindsight, but okay, I could have done this better, and I can add that. But in hindsight, if you avoid the side that probably most people avoid, because I've been guilty of it as well, and I'm sure every trader you meet will probably say they will admit that they're guilty of the psychology side and what changes you're willing to make. And man, that's like the biggest thing. Let's see. How's Snapchat doing for my zone? Dang, the zone got disrespected. It worked out for a bit. This is at all-time lows now. Oh no, not yet. If we clear all-time lows, I'm still gonna keep an eye on this personally. This is, yeah, made another set of lows. This is some stuff we just looked at in the past. I'm still looking for things to drop more, to be honest. I know we were considering Weeble up in here. Made sense initially, but volume never really came in. Still really cheap. So wait, like you guys can always DCA, but I would just wait for volume to come in. Hood, I know we were considering this area. Made sense, like sweep. Um, but this thing will probably continue to drop a bit more. It's not a bad idea to average in anywhere from 85 to 75. Makes sense inside of here. Let's see what else. Another one that was dropping. Where is it at? Where is it at? Coin. I was considering this potential area. Um, given how the daily closed, I still think we dropped lower now. The daily hasn't given any evidence. I would love to see coin come back into like 130s. Um, I sent this area earlier this week in our chats. Yeah, now we're just forming a liquidity to get taken out. This will probably make a little trend line and then sweep it. As always, we gotta look at ICP beforehand. Um, I'm gonna keep screaming this. I still see this going lower. Still not a bad area to average in if you believe in the project. I want to see it clear twos. If it clears two, I'm ready to drop some more in. Volume hasn't shown me evidence of us not us not going up like higher yet, so I'm okay with seeing one more drop. And this is all just from a technical point of view. BTC finally hit 75, we spoke about, even went lower. I want to see 70. I still think we haven't finished filling the imbalance. Would love to see us come down to 70 and that giving the odds like another drop. Maybe we push back a little bit inside of this trap candle here and then ultimately give us another 7% drop. Would be awesome. Oh, London Open just happened. Let's take a quick look. What's gold doing? Did not pull back to our zone. And if nothing sets up for London shorts, just look for New York slight reversals. Oh, this is a okay. If you're still on, yeah, this is a very good example of trap candle with volume. I have to show this here. It's a really good learning point. We got a little candle, trap candle here. Price breaks down, clear bearish momentum. Price starts trailing up, but then what happens here? Seller still push down heavily. We reject here. Could have played on the pullback inside of here. Bit of a wider stop because gold's been moving like crazy, so stops can be a little bit wider. But volume comes in. Yeah, I don't get the engulfing candle, but I'm sure if we look at this on a smaller time frame, well, even smaller, we start seeing price reject here, trails up but doesn't really hold up, and then we get the engulfing candle, engulfing volume on the 1 minute at least. Could have played in somewhere inside of like as soon as it opened the next candle, stop at this high, and then broken it down. Let me go back here. Obviously, if you're just looking for that 1 to 3, cool. But this was the day where everything just took that huge dump, um, and we got a lot more than we expected. But I think this is a very good example, at least in my eyes. I wish I would have given the re-entry on this one right here. That would have been awesome. It is inside of that. Speaking of right now, this I didn't have this marked up on my futures chart. Uh, keep an eye on it. I don't see it working out yet. It hasn't given me any evidence, but we'll see. Yeah, this is just very textbook. So we don't always have to catch like the sniper entries, guys. Um, yeah, being a sniper is awesome, but I'd rather catch the most probable move versus constantly stressing about trying to catch the bottom and the tops. Yeah, eventually we'll get there for sure. I know we will. But as you're building your system, find what works most consistently. 5 minute as well devalue from high to low. What do you mean high to low? Was not sure what you mean by that. But as you explained that, if you guys haven't gotten your conference ticket this week on the 7th, we will be having our Blueprint conference with amazing educators that we all learn from, verified educators. No financial advice will be given there, but it will be a great event to come network with other like-minded individuals that are on the same trading journey. And what better way to expand your journey than being around people with decades of results? Personally, like, I've learned from a lot of these mentors, and they've been a huge help in my career as well. If this pulls back inside of here and holds up, I'll consider a short scalp. Let's see. How's volume looking? Wait for the 5 minute to close here. Oh, wow. I guess that 5 minute zone did hold up. All right, we'll see if we get a pullback. I'm gonna keep an eye. If I'm awake, then I'll potentially consider. Um, in regards to like that 5 minute, I would consider, if I am understanding what you're saying. Let's see, 5 minutes from high to low. Like this high to the previous low. Not necessarily. I mean, structure-wise, yes, I would say that, but as long as it respected the structure, then yeah. If that's what you mean, if it respects the structure, then I would still factor that in. Just because there's a trap candle there doesn't mean it's always valid to take. It has to make sense from a structure point of view and evidence to our left as well that we have a reason to take the trade. Um, Examples of our exits are liquidity, other trap candles, imbalances. But I hope this was informative for you guys. We got our zones. Um, this is looking pretty decent on the 5 minute. Let's see if we can get a little pullback to attempt a quick scalp. But that's it for me, guys. If you guys are going to be in Texas this week, feel free to hit me up. If you want to just sit down, talk, chop it up. You guys know me, I'm always up for that. And appreciate you guys hopping on, all the regulars. And take care, guys.